Welcome back. We are on Lesson 3, Step 6, Part 1. Part 1, okay? And the reason I say Part 1 is because Part 2, we're not really going to get to Step 6 right now. There's something I want you to do before you do Step 6, and it's called Draft Your Legend. All right? There is a file in the same folder that you found this video that is called Draft Your Ending. And I want you guys to either open that up. We can pause. You guys can hit pause and come back to this, okay? You can either open it up and look at it while we go through this, or you can print it out and go do it as we go through this, or you can get a piece of paper and write down 1 through 5. Leave yourself lots of space because there's writing to be done here, okay? But that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to let you guys hit pause for a second, and then I'm going to go on here after just a second with the lesson on Draft Your Ending, okay? Go do it. Okay, we're back. Okay, now you should have at least looking at or have printed out the paper that says Draft Your Ending. And we're going to go over that really quick, like right here, okay? All right, so if you have it in front of you, let's go through this together. Let's read along with me. It says, the ending of a story should wrap up events and leave readers feeling satisfied. And like that is, and they all lived happily ever after, okay? It doesn't have to be like that, but the reader needs to feel satisfied with what the ending is, with how your main character ends up. That's important. Now, a strong ending tells how the character solves the problem. That's always a big deal, and shows what happens as a result. The story, the strong ending follows logically from earlier events in the story. Now, these two bulleted items that we just read, think about when we go through 1 through 3 here, because 1 through 3 we're going to talk about Lily Alfarsi's story about Davy Crockett and Lulu May Hardin. And in order to do that properly, you should probably have your iReady writing book open to pages 64 and 65, where the mentor text is, okay? So please go back, make sure you're open with that, please, okay? Now, number 1 says, one way to create a satisfying ending is to have a character solve a problem in an unexpected way. How does Davy solve his problem? You guys remember? How did Davy solve his problem? Well, had something to do with a biscuit, if I remember correctly. I think you guys should probably go back and look at that and answer this. How does Davy solve his problem? Answer that in a complete sentence. Now, the next question says, why might some readers not expect his solution? Why do you guys think that it was unexpected, the way he solved the problem? Why might some readers not expect his solution? Let you guys figure that on your own, please. Okay, number 2. Explain how the ending of a legend logically follows from events Lily describes earlier in paragraphs 5 and 9. Well, when they say the ending of the legend logically follows from events Lily describes. So let's look at paragraph 5 and 9 from Lily Alfarsi's story. Paragraph 5 says, then Lulu May entered the ring. She was nearly as tall as Davy. Her arms were powerful from years of kneading bread dough. So they introduce the fact that she cooks bread and other pastries and things like that. So she looked at her big, mean gator in the eye and cried, "Are you ready for me, gator?" Just as Davy had done. The gator gave her a big smile. So these are some of the events that they're talking about, okay? How does that relate to the end of the story? Paragraph 9. Lulu waved a finger at him and tossed one of her fresh-made biscuits his way. Davy easily caught it and shoved the sweet-smelling biscuit into his pants pocket. "Hope you won't be a sore loser, Davy Crockett," Lulu said. Then she gave him a big gator-sized smile. Now, they're talking about right there, again, how does that right there relate to the end of the story? When she gave him the biscuit. Okay? So the writer shows him receiving the biscuit from Lulu May Hardin that he ends up winning the tournament with. Okay? So I'll let you guys figure out how to write that on your own. Number 3, the last paragraph tells what happens after Davy solves his problem. Does Lily's description of the results make the legend feel finished in a satisfying way? And then explain your answer. And I think that's a self-explanatory question. So the last paragraph says, the judges argued for an hour, yelling and shouting and shaking their fists. Eventually, however, they ruled that biscuits were allowed. And that is how Davy Crockett used his strength and some quick thinking to beat Lulu May Hardin at Gator Wrestling, winning the title of Best Gator Wrestler of 1804. So, it tells that last paragraph, told what happens after Davy solves his problems. Does Lily's description of the results make the legend feel finished in a satisfying way? What do you guys think? Please explain your answer. Okay? Write that down there. Now, for the next part. For questions 4 and 5, we're going to be talking about your own writing and what you have up here for your own writing, okay? So now, this is what we're going to do for this part. Guided practice. I want you guys to reread the beginning and middle. Of course, you don't have it completely written yet, okay? The ideas that are in there. Reread the beginning and middle of your legend. This will give you ideas to use in your ending. As you read, ask yourself these questions. Which events or details help the main character solve the problem? What solution follows logically from earlier story events or details? And what events might result from the solution? So what events are going to happen when the problem is solved? That's what they're asking you here, okay? So in the chart below, this is when I said, make room for a chart. Let's do this now. You just need to have some lines. On the left side, you write important events leading to solution. And then on the right-hand side, what you do is, based on what you have in your head for your legend or what you've already written for your legend, want you to think about what important events led to the solution of your palace guard's problem. Okay? Now, think about what is the logical solution. So the top part is events leading to a solution, and then the logical solution. What is the logical solution to your palace guard's problem? And the events resulting from the solution. So once the problem is solved on how to get the crown back, or whatever solution it is that he has a problem with, what are the results of those problems? What happens after those problems are solved? That's what they're asking. Now, let's look at number 4. Okay, number 4 says, based on earlier events and details from your legend, briefly describe how your palace guard succeeds in retrieving the king's stolen crown. Now, for these parts, I know that you guys haven't completely written your stories yet, all right? You have ideas, and hopefully when we've done the beginning of the story and we've written parts for the middle of the story of how you're going to have your own story, you have a good idea about what you're going to write. So think about that when we're doing these, okay? So based on earlier events in your story and details from your legend, briefly describe how your palace guards succeeds in retrieving the king's stolen crown. How does he do it? Just briefly describe how your palace guard is going to go about retrieving the king's stolen crown. Okay? Now, please do that. And of course, you guys can always pause these, okay? Because I do go kind of fast in these lessons. I don't want these lessons to be an hour long. So, number five says describe important events that occur after the palace guards solves the problem. All right, describe important events that occur after the palace guards solve the problem. So he solves the problem, and then what? He got the crown back. Yay, big party. I mean, what happens after that? You know, I mean, does everybody pat each other on the back? End of story? No, you got to figure out what happens after they solve the problem. And then, what happens as a result that also provides a satisfying ending, a happy ending, an ending that at least tells you that your palace guard's going to be okay. Right, that's what they're talking about with this. All right. Hopefully this has helped you do this particular end of the story. We are going to go on to second part, which is basically step 6 in the next video. We'll see you there.